It started like any other teenage romance. Two young cadets, Logan McPhail and Holly Newton, united by discipline, ambition, and the thrill of first love. At first, it was innocent, sweet, full of promise. But when that love ended, something twisted took root. Logan couldn't let go. Obsession replaced affection, and stalking replaced heartbreak. Then, on a cold winter evening, as Holly enjoyed her very first date with someone new, Logan followed her into a dark alley and stabbed her 36 times. This is the chilling story of how teenage love turned to deadly fixation and became one of the most brutal teen murders in the United Kingdom. July 2021. A teenage romance bloomed between Holly Newton and Logan McPhail after they met at Army Cadets. At first, it was everything young love promises, exciting, intense, and full of hope. But behind Logan's charm, a much darker side began to surface. The warning signs were subtle at first: controlling texts, mood swings, possessiveness. But soon, Holly found herself caught in a toxic cycle of fear and manipulation. Despite her growing unease, Logan's relentless pressure pulled her back time and time again. For 18 turbulent months, their on and off relationship left Holly emotionally drained and constantly on edge. By January 2023, she'd had enough. Holly made the brave decision to walk away, this time for good. She told Logan it was over. But Logan wasn't about to let her go, not without a fight, and not alive. Logan refused to believe that Holly was truly done with him. Desperate to regain control, he flooded her phone with calls, messages, anything to pull her back in. But this time, Holly was determined. She blocked his number, stopped replying, and cut all ties. That's when Logan's desperation deepened. With no way to reach her directly, he turned to the people around her, contacting friends, family, anyone he thought could convince Holly to change her mind. Still, she stayed silent. And that silence sent Logan into a dangerous spiral. If she wouldn't talk to him, then in his mind, she wouldn't talk to anyone. He hacked into her social media accounts, locking her out completely, changing passwords, seizing control, and cutting her off from the outside world. This wasn't love. It was full-blown obsession, possession. It was the middle of winter when 16-year-old Logan McPhail slipped out of his home in Gateshead under the cover of darkness. With no one noticing, he boarded a bus bound for Haltwhistle, a quiet town 40 miles away, and home to Holly Newton. The streets were silent, the air biting cold, but Logan didn't care. He had one goal: to see Holly. For hours, he lurked in the shadows near her house, silently watching the windows, desperate for a glimpse of her. He called her phone over and over, but inside, Holly never answered. Growing more agitated, Logan turned his attention to her family. He messaged Holly's sibling, begging to be let in. "Open the back window. She doesn't even have to see me. Just throw down your key and I'll sneak in." But the door stayed shut. Back in Gateshead, Logan's family realized he was missing and contacted the police. Officers eventually found him wandering the streets near Holly's home, cold and alone. When questioned, Logan offered a simple explanation. He claimed he was only there to pick up a forgotten games console. The police believed him and drove him home. What they didn't know was that Logan's obsession wasn't fading. It was escalating and becoming far more dangerous. By that morning, Holly's mother, Michaela Trussler, had reached her breaking point. After sending her children off to school, she finally made a decision she'd been weighing for too long. She contacted the police to formally report Logan McPhail's disturbing behavior following his uninvited late-night visit. The police responded quickly, arranging to come by the house at 4 p.m. that very day. Wanting to keep Holly in the loop, Michaela called her daughter while she was still at school. But Holly had already made plans for the afternoon, and she begged her mom to postpone the appointment. Reluctantly, Michaela agreed. She rescheduled the meeting, a decision that, in just a few hours, would haunt her forever. Because that same day, Logan McPhail made his next move. He left school early and boarded a bus, nearly 20 miles, straight to Holly's town. He wasn't rushing. He was calculating. He knew her routine. What time school let out. Which path she usually took home. All he had to do now was wait. That afternoon, Holly Newton walked out of school with a heavy heart. She was still shaken by Logan's recent behavior. Her mind replayed the night he tried to sneak into her home. She scanned the school gates anxiously, half expecting him to be there, but there was no sign of him. Relieved, she tried to shake the fear. She met up with her new boyfriend, Alan Lawson, and together they made their way into Hexham Town Center. For a while, the shadows faded. They wandered the shops, laughing and chatting, two teenagers simply trying to enjoy a normal day. They had no idea someone was already watching. Eventually, the pair decided to grab a pizza, completely unaware that danger was silently stalking them. Outside the pizza shop, Holly took a seat at a nearby bus stop while Alan stepped inside to place their order. For a moment, everything felt normal. The threat they feared seemed far away, until it wasn't. Out of nowhere, Logan McPhail appeared. Alan spotted him approaching and instinctively rushed back to Holly's side. But Logan didn't lash out, not at first. He stayed calm, composed. There were no raised voices, no threats, just a quiet request. He wanted to speak to Holly, alone. Alan hesitated. Logan didn't seem aggressive. Maybe a brief conversation would give them closure. Maybe it would finally end all of this. So Alan stepped back into the shop, leaving Holly alone with her ex. What no one realized was that Logan had been stalking them for over 45 minutes. After leaving school early, he had taken a bus straight to Holly's area. CCTV later captured him pulling a face covering over his mouth as he stepped off, concealing his identity. He was then seen lurking in a supermarket car park nearby, weaving between trolley shelters and hiding behind cars, always staying out of sight. He had a knife on him, a weapon he'd brought from home and carried with him for over a week. Waiting, watching, plotting. So when Logan approached Holly outside the pizza shop, it wasn't by chance. It was planned. Just a few feet away, a narrow alley cut between the buildings, dark, secluded. Logan pleaded with Holly to come with him. He pulled at her emotions, begged for just a moment to talk in private. Holly hesitated. Every instinct in her body screamed not to go. But maybe she felt guilty. Maybe she was afraid of what would happen if she didn't listen. Maybe she just wanted to avoid a public scene. Whatever the reason, she agreed. And together, they disappeared down the alley and into the darkness. Then, in a single, horrifying moment, everything changed. Without warning, Logan pulled out a knife and launched into a frenzied attack. Screams echoed through the narrow alley, shattering the quiet evening air. Alan Lawson, Holly's new boyfriend, heard the commotion and sprinted around the corner. What he saw stopped him cold. Logan on top of Holly in a violent struggle. At first, Alan thought Logan was hitting her. Just fists. But as he rushed in and grabbed Logan into a headlock, the sickening truth revealed itself. Warm blood began to seep down his leg. Logan wasn't punching her. He was stabbing her. In the chaos, Alan was slashed 4 times, deep wounds to his leg and shoulder. But the brunt of Logan's fury was aimed at Holly. Again and again, Logan plunged the knife into her. A relentless, savage assault. Holly fought back with everything she had, kicking, screaming, clawing for her life. But each time she tried to push him away, another brutal stab came down. Logan was out of control. And in that dark, narrow alley, no one was there to stop him. Holly Newton was barely alive. In just under a minute, Logan McPhail had unleashed an unimaginable level of violence, 36 wounds in total. 12 deep stab wounds, 19 savage slashes, and 5 defensive injuries, the tragic evidence of Holly's desperate attempt to protect herself. Paramedics arrived within moments, but what they found was harrowing. Wounds to her face, neck, and chest. Any one of them could have been fatal. Each one delivered with one terrifying purpose: to end her life. After the vicious assault, Logan didn't get far. Horrified bystanders who had witnessed the attack sprang into action. They confronted him, restrained him, and held him at the scene until police arrived. Within minutes, Logan MacPhail was under arrest, his hands cuffed, his face emotionless.
Right, put your hands behind your back. Right, you're under arrest on suspicion of an assault. You do not have to say anything that may harm your defence. You do not mention when questioned something that you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand? Yeah? Stand now. Where? In the alleyway.
By the way, do you want my card on the floor right there on the floor?
Have you got anything in your pockets?
My phone.
What's your name?
Logan MacPhail.
Logan.
Logan Shane MacPhail.
Who's the last? Do you know her name?
Holly Newton.
Who?
Holly Newton.
Newton. Where's she from?
She been too hard to me, and last night we thought he meant to kill myself. I was meant to kill myself, but I went too far.
What's your date of birth? You don't know. Stop being clever, right? You know how much bother you're in.
Right.
What's your date of birth?
Can't read or write.
Right. But you know what your day of your birthday is?
No, I don't.
Huh?
I know nothing.
You don't know anything. You don't know what day your birthday is. How old are you?
16.
16. Where are you from? Where'd you live?
But the damage was already done. Holly's life hung by a thread. Logan MacPhail was sentenced to life in prison, but with a minimum term of just 17 years. Many across the nation felt this sentence did not fully reflect the horror of the crime he committed. Alan Lawson, who was also stabbed during the attack, survived after spending several days in the hospital recovering from his injuries. Though he left with his life, the emotional and physical scars from that night would stay with him forever. Holly Newton was only 15 years old, full of life, laughter, and dreams. Her story should have been one of growth and hope, not heartbreak and loss. Instead, it became a haunting reminder of how young love can turn dangerously toxic when obsession replaces respect. This is more than just a story about a life taken too soon. It's a stark warning to recognize the signs of coercive control, to listen when victims speak, and to take action before it's too late. Holly's voice was stolen, but her story must be heard.